Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Marshall, and I am the TSC Neuro Educator. And today we're here for session 3. And the topics that we're going to cover today are self-care and mindfulness. So self-care, when we talk about that in my world for teachers, it often, believe it or not, makes them feel guilty. And so we, in my world as a neuroeducator, we actually talk about regulated brain state. And it basically means that we're asking ourselves, what do we need to do to spend time in our prefrontal cortex? And remember, that's the part of our brain where we feel good, where we can think and learn, where we're safe, and where even our physical symptoms are making us feel like we're operating at our best self. So when we think about self-care, they are strategies that we can apply to make sure we're living here, where we feel good and are thinking and learning. But we know that everybody becomes dysregulated at one time or another. Something happens and it triggers us and it sets us off in our outside world. And we all of a sudden sense maybe we have a stomach ache, or we have a headache because we're stressed out about a conversation we had with friends, or we're worried about a test, or maybe even we're nervous about the start of school. And that is an alarm alert and an alarm response. And we want to spend most of our time here because this is, again, where we feel good and can think and learn. But when we honor and recognize the fact that we're going to get triggered, then what strategies do we have that we can use to move us back here? And so self-care really at the heart of it, and at the heart of the science of it, is all about what we're going to do to move us back to that prefrontal cortex once we do get triggered. The famous line that we use over and over again, both with our teachers primarily, actually within our families and within our students, is this: a dysregulated adult will never regulate a dysregulated child. Meaning, if we hope to have positive interactions with our colleagues, our community members, our family members, we need to be functioning in this, and we can't be triggered. And so are we able to recognize when we get triggered? And then are we able to apply a strategy to ourselves in order to regulate so that we can feel good again and be back in our reasoning brain and our logical brain? And so thinking about self-care from that scientific angle, what do you do? Do you have strategies that you use to take care of yourself? So lots of the things that we teach both our teachers and our students are similar, because what's good for them as students is also good for us as the adults. So thinking about number one strategy that science continues to support is mindfulness. And I know there are a lot of questions still out there surrounding mindfulness. So let's do a quick crash course on what is mindfulness. It's actually just cultivating your stamina for being able to recognize and being aware of your surroundings and in the present moment. Did you know your brain is wired to have you live in the past or in the future? It really is. And so you can actually train your brain to spend more time with you in the present moment, but it takes effort. 2 summers ago, I actually set a goal to build my mindfulness stamina to see if I could reach 20 minutes. I'd like to report I reached about 12 or 13, and that's okay because I know that that is an exercise. When we practice breath as a way to move us to our prefrontal cortex, we're not going to be good at it the very first time we try. And we use this strategy with our students and with our adults for lots of reasons. Number one, science says it's still the best strategy. Number 2, it's free. Easy. You can do it anywhere at any time. And number 3, really nobody even has to know that's a strategy that you're applying to yourself so that you can be in a regulated brain state. So mindfulness is just something in the schools we actually talk about focused attention practices, because when you say the word mindfulness, sometimes people think we're teaching about a cultural practice or a religious practice, and that actually couldn't be further from the truth. We're talking about science from the perspective of breath and the brain and our nervous systems. So when we begin breathing in the classroom, it might just be for a few seconds. So if you choose to adopt this strategy for yourself, keep in mind we go slow to go fast. And we definitely don't sit down and think that we can train our brain to be in the present moment for 20 minutes just at the very first time we try. So we really encourage you, if you do not have a mindfulness practice, to adopt one today. On our TSC Neuroscience website, there are hundreds of links where you can learn more about focused attention practices and mindfulness. Lots of apps that you can download on your phone or even on your watch. One of my favorites is Mindfulness 3. It pops up 3 times a day. And one of the prompts is simply take a breath and smile. That is a way that you can slow your nervous system down, make sure you're feeling safe, and that you are functioning from your prefrontal cortex. Moving on from mindfulness, we also teach mindful bodies in order to accomplish that practice. And so let me teach you really quickly what a mindful body is. Your feet are first flat on the floor. Your shoulders are rolled nice and back and soft. You're sitting up nice and tall. And the goal is to move your air from your abdomen back up here to your prefrontal cortex. We teach that your eyes can be open or closed, whatever makes you feel safe. And then we practice breathing. The goal is actually 5 rounds of mindful breath in 1 minute. And once you hit that target of 5, then that's what scientists have said your nervous system needs. Now, what does that breath look like? It's actually an inhale in your nose for the count of about 3 or 4, and exhaling out of your mouth for the count of like 5 or 6. We're certainly learning that the exhale is maybe even the most important aspect of this practice, because it's most important that we exhale all that stale air out and move that fresh oxygenated glucose in. So other tips for self-care. Do you like to go for a walk? Do you like to cook, bake? Do you like to write letters to friends? Do you like to do any kind of art? Anything that makes you feel good is likely a strategy that you can use for self-care. And you may not even recognize that that's what you're doing. In college, I remember that when I would get dysregulated and frustrated and be triggered, one of my roommates knew that Fountain Coke was going to solve all of my triggered problems. And so we would pile in the car, and believe it or not, it took us about 20 minutes to get to the closest soda fountain pop, and I felt better. And so do you know, that's the question we need you to answer, do you know what you need when you aren't feeling regulated? So as we close our time together today, let's do a quick debrief of the tools and strategies that we've talked about. So in mindfulness, we want to think about how do we send a message to our prefrontal cortex that we feel safe, and we let our nervous system know that we are not in our amygdalas, but in our prefrontal cortex where we're ready to think and learn. And the way that we do that, the number one strategy that scientists agree upon is breath and mindfulness. So if you don't have a practice that you're doing regularly, I really encourage you to find one and give it a try and start small. Remember that if you feel that your nervous system is so dysregulated and it's really hard to get that inhale, you can always practice just the long exhale. That's really an important step to all of this. And we encourage all of you to find those self-care strategies that work for you. The self-care strategies that might work for me might not work for you or those that you live with or are caring for. So remember to find the things that you love or that you know make you feel good and safe. And that is the signal to you that those are ways that you can regulate your nervous system and apply self-care. So thank you again for joining us today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your interest. And I'd like to close our session with a well wish for you. May you be safe. May you be healthy. And may you be happy. Thanks again for your time. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take care, everybody.